They came at dusk, not with warships or threats, but with a tired knock that sounded like it had traveled across a million disappointments. And when the door finally opened, the alien mother didn't ask for money, or shelter, or mercy. She asked one impossible question in a voice that trembled from 3 years of walking. Are you the one human who can survive my daughter's mind? The rain outside the cliff town of New Tangia tasted like salt and metal. It came in sharp, cold needles that bounced off solar tiles and rolled down the stone steps. The street lamps glowed pale, like the city was holding its breath. Inside a cramped home built from recycled ship panels, Jace Rylan wiped his hands on a rag and stared at the woman in his doorway. She was tall, wrapped in a dark travel cloak that shimmered like oil on water. Her skin was a soft violet, not bright or royal, more like bruised twilight. Her eyes were large, glassy, and exhausted in a way Jace had only seen in parents waiting outside hospitals. Beside her stood a child. The girl's hair looked like thin strands of silver wire. She held a small toy, an old human wind-up bird, its paint scratched and worn from too much love. The mother spoke again, slow and careful, like each word cost her something. My name is Asher Varen. I am not here as a noble. I am here as a mother. Jace blinked once. Then he glanced behind him at his kitchen table workshop, a half-open drone, scattered screws, a cracked mug that said world's okayest tech. You're lost, he said, because his brain couldn't find a better sentence. Asher swallowed. I am finished being lost. The child leaned forward, sniffed the air, and whispered loudly, he smells like burnt wires. Jace almost laughed. Almost. Asher's shoulders tightened. Leary. That is not polite. Leary shrugged, still staring at Jace like he was a strange animal in a book. But it's true. Jace rubbed the bridge of his nose. Okay. Alien mother. Silver-haired kid. Weirdly honest child reviews. Why are you at my door? Asher's hands trembled as she raised a small scanner. It was smooth, too perfect, like it had never been dropped in someone's garage. You are my final address, she said. Jace's stomach sank. Final, what? Asher looked down, and for the first time her voice cracked. 3 years. Every registered human residence in Sol and the outer stations. I knocked myself. I listened to every no. I begged, I paid, I waited. I learned your languages. I learned your customs. I learned how you hide fear behind jokes. Jace stared. How many doors? Asher's mouth moved like she had said the number too many times. 851,609. The rain hissed in the background. Jace's throat went dry. Why? Asher finally met his eyes fully. Because my daughter is dying, and the only cure is something my people cannot create. Leary tilted her head. Mom says my brain is folding wrong. Asher flinched at her daughter's cheerful tone. My people are the Vayari, Jace Rylan, Asher said. We map worlds. We predict storms. We calculate wars before they happen. We are excellent at control. Jace said nothing. Asher raised the scanner closer. But there is one thing we cannot control. The human mind when it refuses to follow the pattern. Jace stared at the device. And you think I'm special? Asher whispered, I think you are rare. Leary stepped inside without permission and immediately spotted a small robot spider on the shelf. Her face lit up. Is that alive? It's not alive, Jace said. It's sort of obedient. Leary crouched and gently tapped it. The spider clicked and skittered in a circle, then stopped like it was thinking. Leary giggled. It's shy. Asher watched her daughter with a painful softness. Then she turned back to Jace. Leary has a condition, she said. On my world, we call it echo sleep. Every time she rests, her mind resets. Memories break, rebuild, break again. Each reset damages the next. Jace felt his chest tighten. So she forgets everything. She forgets yesterday, Asher said. Sometimes she forgets the hour. Sometimes she forgets my name for a moment and looks at me like I am a stranger in our home. Leary waved at Jace. Hi. I'm Leary. Asha closed her eyes for half a second. She introduces herself many times a day now. Jace swallowed hard. What does that have to do with me? Asha lifted the scanner. There is a rare human trait. Your doctors have different names for it. Some call it adaptive chaos cognition. Some call it survival improvisation. Some call it stubborn genius. Jace snorted. That sounds like a compliment disguised as an insult. Asha almost smiled, but it broke into something sad. It is the ability to make sense when rules collapse, she said. To create new paths when the old ones fail. To hold a pattern long enough to rebuild it differently. She offered her hand. Please. Allow me to scan you. Jace hesitated. His life was simple. Repairs, rent, small jobs, small problems. He had learned to trust machines more than people. But this woman didn't look like a scammer. She looked like someone who had slept in transit pods and cried in empty hallways. He sighed. Fine. Scan me. But if you steal my DNA to clone me into a space army, I'm going to feel very insulted. Leary gasped. A space army of him would smell so bad. Jace pointed at her. Hey. Asha ran the scanner over his wrist. The device hummed softly. The seconds stretched. Then it beeped. Asha stared at the display. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Leary ran to her mother's side. Mom, did he break it? Asha's knees buckled. She grabbed the doorframe like it was the only solid thing in the universe. A single tear slid down her cheek, catching the light. You have it, she whispered. Jace's heart thumped. I have, what? Asha looked at him like she had been drowning and his face was air. The marker, she said. The trait. The only thing that might keep her mind from collapsing. Jace felt a strange dizziness. Okay. So what do you need from me? Asha straightened, forcing control back into her voice like armor. We need to bring you to our shipmed lab, she said. We need repeated neural protein samples, fresh. Your adaptive proteins degrade quickly outside the body. Our synthesizers can copy the chemical shape, but they cannot copy the human randomness inside it. Only your living system can produce it correctly. Jace stared. So you need me, like a battery. Asha's eyes flashed. Not a battery. A partner. A donor. A miracle. Leary tugged on Jace's shirt sleeve. Are you nice? Jace looked down at her small face, bright and curious, full of trust she didn't even understand. He breathed out slowly. I don't know if I'm nice, he said. But I know what it's like to watch something break and not know how to fix it. Asha's lips trembled. Jace nodded once. I'll help, he said. Tell me where to go. Asha exhaled like she had been holding her breath for 3 years. Then the air in the room changed. Asha's travel bracelet suddenly lit up red. A hard, metallic voice burst from it in a language Jace didn't know, sharp, urgent, full of alarm. Asha's face turned pale violet. Leary blinked. Mom. Asha looked at Jace, terror finally breaking through her exhaustion. They found us, she said. And they are coming to take her back. Outside, above the storm clouds, something massive moved, silent, dark, and wrong. And the sky began to glow. The first beam hit the ocean outside New Tangia like a silent sunrise. Bright, blue-white, and wrong. The water didn't boil. It didn't splash. It simply stopped being water for a moment, turned to glass, then shattered into steam. Jace Ryland stood frozen in his doorway as the sky glowed through rain clouds. Asha pulled Leary close, her arms tightening like a shield. Inside. Now. Leary blinked up at the ceiling as if she could see through it. Is that thunder? That, Asha said, voice tight, is an empire. They rushed into Jace's home. The walls shook as another beam cracked the air outside. The street lamps flickered. Somewhere, a car alarm screamed like it knew it was useless. Jace grabbed his jacket and a small tool roll without thinking. It was instinct. When danger comes, you carry the things you know how to use. Asha pressed her glowing bracelet again. The metallic voice returned, this time translated into harsh human words. Varen Duchess. By authority of the Karun Accord, surrender the child Liri Varen for containment. Resistance will be treated as hostile. Jace felt his stomach twist. Containment? She's a kid. Asha's eyes burned. To them she's a malfunction. Another impact rattled the windows. Jace peered through a gap in the curtains. Above the cliff town, hovering in the storm like a dark god, was a ship shaped like a blade. It was sleek and perfect and made the sky look messy by comparison. No landing lights. No warning sirens. Just quiet dominance. On the street, people ran. A few stared upward, too shocked to move. A few filmed with their phones like that would save them. Asha's breathing turned shallow. They promised me sanctuary. They promised me I could search in peace. Who are they? Jace asked. Asha swallowed. The Karun Empire. They police stability across dozens of worlds. They hate anything they cannot predict. Liri whispered, "Why do they hate me?" Asha's face tightened. Because you prove their math is not perfect. The bracelet chimed again, colder. Final warning. Open your door. Jace flinched. They know where we are. Asha looked away. My people wear tracking sigils. Supposedly for safety. Supposedly for rescue. Jace understood instantly. They tagged you. Yes, Asha said, shame and rage mixing. And I was too desperate to care. The knock came then, heavy, mechanical, not a polite knock at all. More like a hammer tapping metal. Jace stared at the door as if it might explode. That's not station security. Asha's eyes darted around the small home. Back in trance. Jace let out a short laugh that wasn't humor. I live on a cliff. Back entrance is gravity. Liri hugged the wind-up bird to her chest. I don't want to go with the scary voice. Jace crouched in front of her. Hey! Look at me. Liri's eyes were huge. Bright. Confused. She looked like a child who had read too many adventure stories and suddenly realized monsters were real. Jace spoke gently. Do you trust your mom? Liri nodded quickly. Yes. Do you trust me a little? Liri sniffed. You smell like burnt wires, but you're not mean. Jace nodded. That's the nicest thing anyone's said to me all week. He stood, mind racing. The Karun ship above wasn't here to negotiate. That voice said it clearly. Surrender. Containment. Hostile. Asha's hands trembled as she drew a small pistol from beneath her cloak. It was elegant, silver, and probably worth more than Jace's entire life. You can fight them? Jace asked. Asha's laugh was bitter. This is for animals. The Karun do not fight with weapons you can see. The pounding on the door came again, closer, like something was already inside the walls. Jace looked at his workshop table. Tools. Parts. A broken drone. A few coils of copper. 3 battery packs. A spool of smart filament. His eyes landed on one thing he'd been tinkering with for weeks, an old emergency beacon he'd gutted and rebuilt for fun. It had no official use. It was just a challenge. Now it was a lifeline. Jace grabbed it. Asha, can you get us to your ship? Asha hesitated. It is docked, 2 blocks away. But the Karun will flood this district with immobilizers. They freeze nervous systems with light. Jace's heart hammered. So if we step outside, we get turned off like lamps. Asha nodded once. Yes. Jace stared at his window. Rain. Wind. A narrow alley that led toward the docks. Somewhere beyond that, Asha's ship, and the only lab that could help Liri. And above it all, a blade ship that believed the universe had rules and humans were a mistake. Jace exhaled hard. Okay, he said. Then we don't walk outside like normal people. Asha's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Jace yanked open a floor panel near his table and exposed a narrow utility tunnel used for wiring and drainage. He'd discovered it months ago while fixing a power surge. It was dirty, tight, half-flooded. It was also not a street. "This," he said, "is why humans survive. We always have a stupid backup plan." Lyri leaned over the hole and peered in. "It's dark." Jace shrugged. "So are most of the best ideas." The pounding at the door became a grinding, like metal claws testing the seams. Asher's hand tightened on her pistol. "They are coming through." Jace shoved the beacon into his jacket. He grabbed a flashlight, a coil of filament, and one battery pack. "Down," he said. "Now." Asher climbed in first, lowering Lyri carefully. Lyri's toy bird clicked as her hand squeezed it. Jace followed, pulling the panel closed above them. Instantly, the home above became muffled, like the world was underwater. Then came the sound that made Jace's blood run cold. A long, smooth hiss. Not a door breaking. Not a lock snapping. A wall becoming liquid. Asher whispered, "Phase entry." Lyri trembled. "Mom." Asher pressed her forehead to her daughter's hair. "I am here." Jace led them forward in the tunnel, crawling through shallow water and cables. The flashlight beam shook with his breathing. Behind them, faintly, the metallic voice echoed through the floor. "Locate. Secure. Neutralize human asset." Jace's jaw clenched. "Asset. Like I'm a tool." Asher whispered, "To them you are more dangerous than a weapon." That should have felt like a compliment. Instead, it felt like a target painted on his back. They crawled for what felt like forever, twisting through narrow turns. The tunnel opened into a maintenance chamber under the street. A metal grate above showed the outline of boots passing in the rain. Not human boots. Too heavy. Too exact. Jace held his breath. Asher held Lyri tighter. A low hum filled the chamber, like the air itself was thinking. Asher's eyes widened. She mouthed silently, "Scanner field." Jace's brain sparked. If they could see heat, heartbeats, bioelectric signals, anything, then hiding wouldn't work for long. He pulled out the broken emergency beacon and quickly connected his battery pack with shaking hands. The beacon's light flickered weakly. Asher stared. "What are you doing?" Jace whispered, making noise. "That will reveal us." "Not us," Jace said. "Something else." He wrapped the smart filament around the beacon, shaping it like a rough human body, head, shoulders, torso. He'd used the filament before for cheap repairs. It could stiffen when charged. The thing looked like a crude dummy. He shoved the dummy toward a side pipe that led upward, then tapped the battery pack again. The beacon pulsed. Warm. Bright on scanners. A fake human signature. Asher's eyes widened in disbelief. "That is..." "Lying," Jace whispered. "Humans are good at it when it counts." The hum above shifted. Boots turned. The scanning field moved, following the bait. Then the grate above them vibrated as something heavy passed away, chasing the false signal. Asher stared at Jace like she'd just witnessed a magic trick. Lyri whispered, "You tricked the scary voice." Jace managed a tight smile. "Yeah, kid. That's the plan." Asher swallowed, and her voice softened. "The Karun believe every problem has one correct solution," she said. "They do not understand improvisation." Jace looked at the tunnel ahead, the darkness waiting. "Then," he said, "we're about to give them a whole new kind of nightmare." They moved fast now, crawling toward the docks. Water soaked Jace's sleeves. Asher's cloak dragged through grime she'd never touched in her life. Lyri stayed quiet, eyes wide, holding her toy bird like it was bravery in her hands. Finally, the tunnel rose into a hatch beneath a warehouse near the docks. Jace pushed it open just a crack. Rain poured in. The dock lights flickered as if afraid. 2 blocks away, parked like a silver whale among human cargo ships, was Asher's vessel, sleek, organic curves glowing faintly. But between them and it stood 3 Karun units. Not soldiers like humans imagined. They were tall, thin figures wrapped in reflective armor, faces hidden behind smooth masks. They didn't carry guns. They carried light, a floating lattice of shimmering beams that drifted around them like a net. Asher whispered, trembling, "Immobilizers." Jace stared, mind racing again. Asher's ship was close. So was death. Lyri tugged Jace's sleeve. "Are we going to lose?" Jace looked down at the child, at her hope, her fear, her small hands still trying to hold onto a future. He shook his head. "Not today," he said. "Humans don't lose when a kid needs saving." Asher's eyes filled again, not with exhaustion this time, but with something bright. Jace took a slow breath. "Okay," he whispered. "Time for plan 2. He pulled out his tool roll. And the rain kept falling like the universe was listening. Jace did not think of himself as brave. He thought of himself as stubborn, tired, and very bad at quitting once his brain locked onto a problem. As rain soaked through his jacket and the Karun immobilizers hummed softly ahead, he realized something important. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was the refusal to let fear decide. The 3 Karun units moved with smooth, unnatural precision. Their light nets drifted outward, scanning the docks, slicing through rain like glowing spiderwebs. Any human caught in that light froze instantly, muscles locked, thoughts trapped inside an unmoving body. Asher watched them with controlled terror. "Those fields adapt," she whispered. "Each second they learn." Jace crouched lower behind a stack of cargo crates. "Good. So do I." He pulled out his tool roll and spread it open on the wet concrete. To Asher, it probably looked like nonsense. Wires, cracked chips, mismatched parts. To Jace, it was a language. Lyri hugged her toy bird and whispered, "What are you making?" Jace didn't look away from his hands. "A mess." Asher frowned. "That is not reassuring." Jace smiled thinly. "It's how all my best work starts." He grabbed 2 battery packs and wired them together against every safety rule he'd ever learned. Sparks jumped. Asher flinched. "That could overload," she said. "Exactly." The Karun nets pulsed brighter, shifting direction. One unit turned its smooth mask toward the warehouse. They were getting closer. Jace wrapped smart filament around the batteries, shaping it not like a human this time, but like a tangled knot. He connected the beacon again, then jammed a cracked processor chip into the circuit. Asher stared. "What does that do?" Jace exhaled. "It tells every scanner in range a different story every second." Lyri's eyes widened. "Like a lie that keeps changing." Jace nodded. "You're a fast learner." He tossed the device hard across the dock. The moment it hit the ground, the air exploded with confusion. The Karun nets flickered. Their smooth precision stuttered as the false signals bounced wildly. Heartbeats that weren't real, brainwaves that contradicted themselves, heat signatures that vanished and reappeared. The units froze. Not physically. Logically. They turned slightly, then back again, as if arguing with themselves. Asher gasped softly. "They cannot resolve it." Jace grabbed her arm. "Run. Now." They sprinted. Rain hammered down as they crossed open ground. Lyri's short legs struggled, but Jace scooped her up without slowing. Her toy bird rattled in his pocket. Behind them, 1 Karun unit recovered first. Its light net surged forward, angry now, brighter. Asher cried out, "Jace!" He didn't turn. He reached into his jacket and threw his last battery pack straight into the net. The net flared, then collapsed. The battery exploded in a flash of harmless but blinding light, overloading the delicate field. The Karun unit staggered like it had been punched. They reached Asher's ship. Up close, it was beautiful, smooth living metal skin, faint veins of light pulsing beneath the surface like a heartbeat. The door opened at Asher's touch, recognizing her instantly. Inside, the ship felt warm. Alive. The door sealed just as the dock behind them lit up with angry blue-white energy. Asher leaned against the wall, shaking. "You should be dead." Jace panted. "Yeah. That keeps happening." Lyri tugged his collar. "You won." Jace looked down at her. No, kid. We bought time. The ship lifted off smoothly, sliding into the storm clouds just as a beam carved through the dock where they had stood seconds earlier. Inside the med lab, lights bloomed softly. Organic surfaces reshaped themselves into consoles and platforms. Asher moved with practiced speed now, fear giving way to purpose. She laid Lyri gently onto a cushioned table. The child yawned, suddenly exhausted. Asher's voice trembled. She hasn't slept since yesterday. The resets get worse when she's tired. Jace swallowed. What happens if she sleeps now? Asher met his eyes. She may wake up not knowing who I am. Lyri blinked slowly. Mom. Asher grabbed her hand. I'm here. I'm always here. Lyri smiled faintly. Okay. Her eyes closed. The monitors shifted. Lines of alien symbols danced across the displays. Asher's breath hitched. Jace watched helplessly as Lyri's brain patterns fractured and reformed, like glass cracking and melting at the same time. Asher whispered, "This is why we needed you." Jace clenched his fists. "Then use me. Whatever you need." Asher turned, eyes sharp with sudden resolve. "We must do more than extract proteins." "What do you mean?" "The Karun are already adapting," she said. "If we simply treat Lyri, they will take her later. Or take you. Or both." Jace frowned. "So what's the plan?" Asher hesitated, then spoke words that would have been unthinkable hours ago. "We turn you into a variable they cannot model." Jace blinked. "I already am." Asher shook her head. "Not enough." She brought up a holographic display, human brain scans, alien neural maps, equations layered over chaos diagrams. "Our science fails because we seek perfection," she said. "Your science succeeds because you accept failure and build anyway." Jace stared at the data. Slowly, an idea formed. A reckless, dangerous idea. "You want me to teach your systems to think wrong on purpose?" Asher inhaled sharply. "Yes." Jace laughed once, breathless. "That's insane." Asher met his gaze. "So are humans." They worked for hours. Jace tore apart safety protocols. He rewired interfaces by instinct, not theory. He fed the system contradictory data, emotional noise, random human memories, music, arguments, half-remembered dreams. The ship protested. Systems warned. Alarms chirped softly. And then something changed. The med core stabilized. Lyri's brain patterns stopped fracturing. They bent instead, flexible, adaptive, alive. Asher covered her mouth. "It's holding." Jace slumped into a chair. "Told you. Stop trying to make things perfect." Lyri stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked around. Then she looked at Asher. "Mom," she said, clearly. "Why are you crying?" Asher collapsed to her knees, sobbing openly now, clutching her daughter. "You remembered," she whispered. "You remembered." Lyri frowned. "Of course I did. Did I forget again?" Asher laughed through tears. "Not this time. Not anymore." Jace felt something tight in his chest loosen. He wiped his face roughly and looked away. Before anyone could speak, the ship shuddered violently. A deep, resonant voice filled the cabin, no longer distant, no longer polite. "Human Jace Rylan. You have violated stability law. You are now a Class 1 disruption." The stars outside warped as massive ships emerged from hyperspace, dozens of them, surrounding Asher's vessel like predators. Asher's face hardened. They brought the fleet. Jace stood slowly, rolling his shoulders. "Well," he said, "good news." Asher looked at him. "You just taught an alien ship how to think like a human," Jace said. "Let's see how the Empire likes that." The ship's lights shifted, warmer, brighter, alive in a new way. The Karun fleet did not announce itself with threats or demands. It didn't need to. 30 blade-shaped warships formed a perfect sphere around Asher's vessel, each one glowing with the cold confidence of an empire that had never been truly surprised. Inside the ship, the air felt different now, restless, alert, like a living thing that had just learned fear and curiosity at the same time. Asher stared at the tactical display. They have locked us inside a probability cage. Jace crossed his arms. That sounds expensive. It is, Asher said quietly. They are calculating every possible move we might make, and discarding the ones where we survive. Lyri sat upright on the med table, no longer confused, no longer distant. Her eyes tracked the shifting lights calmly. They're wrong, she said. Asher turned sharply. Lyri. The child tilted her head. They think like straight lines. But you taught the ship to think like scribbles. Jace blinked. Then he laughed, a sharp bark of disbelief. Kid, you might be the smartest person in the room. The ship pulsed softly, responding as if it agreed. Asher's breath caught. She's integrating with the med core. Jace frowned. Is that safe? Asher hesitated. It shouldn't be possible. Jace nodded. Then it's probably fine. Outside, the Karun fleet began its advance. Energy fields overlapped. Space itself shimmered like stretched glass. The voice returned, louder now, no longer pretending to be neutral. Human Jace Rylan. Surrender. Your existence destabilizes ordered civilization. Jace stepped closer to the viewport. He could see his reflection, wet hair, tired eyes, a mechanic who should have been fixing drones, not rewriting galactic power structures. He leaned toward the console and spoke. Yeah, he said. That's kind of our thing. Asher's ship shuddered as the probability cage tightened. Alarms whispered warnings in alien tones. Asher turned to Jace, urgency sharp in her voice. Even with human-style cognition, we cannot fight them alone. Jace nodded. Good. I wasn't planning to. He pulled out the emergency beacon, its casing cracked, wires exposed, illegal in at least 12 jurisdictions. Asher stared. That device cannot transmit through Karun interference. Jace grinned tiredly. It doesn't have to. He rewired the beacon directly into the ship's comm spine. What it does, he said, is scream in every human frequency at once. Asher's eyes widened. You're going to alert everyone, Jace finished. Not militaries. Not governments. People. Lyri smiled. The noisy kind. Jace activated the beacon. Across human space, something strange happened. On cargo ships and research stations, on mining rigs and deep space cafes, on lonely patrol vessels and forgotten outposts. Screens flickered. Radios crackled. Old frequencies long abandoned came alive. A simple signal burst through, chaotic, emotional, unmistakably human. Not a call for war. A call for help. And humans answered. A freighter captain rerouted without asking permission. A group of engineers on Luna patched the signal and boosted it. A pirate relay picked it up and laughed, then forwarded it anyway. A retired admiral saw the code, went quiet, and woke up old contacts. Across thousands of systems, human ships turned, not because they were ordered to, but because someone needed them. Back on Asher's ship, the tactical display exploded with new contacts. Asher gasped. That's impossible. Jace smiled softly. We don't wait for permission when kids are in danger. The Karun fleet hesitated for the first time in its history. New variables flooded their models. Ships with mismatched drives, unpredictable weapons, crews that didn't follow doctrine. The probability cage flickered. The Karun voice returned, sharper now. Human forces. Disengage. This is an internal stability correction. A human voice cut in over the channel, rough and amused. Yeah. Well, stability's overrated. Another voice followed. Then another. Dozens. Hundreds. Human ships dropped out of jump space like a storm of badly aimed meteors. They didn't form neat formations. They didn't synchronize fire. They improvised. Cargo ships dumped debris clouds. Mining lasers overheated Karun shields. Experimental drives distorted space in ways that made no sense on paper. The Karun fleet fired back, but their perfect calculations failed against human unpredictability. They had never fought a species that treated rules like suggestions. Inside the ship, Asher watched in stunned silence. "You didn't bring an army." Jace shook his head. "No. I brought a neighborhood." Lyri pressed her hands against the console, eyes glowing faintly. "They're scared now," she said softly. Asher's heart pounded. "Lyri, step back." The child shook her head. "I can help." Before Asher could stop her, Lyri linked fully with the ship's core. Human chaos. Alien brilliance. A child's intuition. The ship changed. Its systems rewrote themselves in real time, learning, adapting, imagining. Asher felt it, a new kind of intelligence awakening. The Karun probability cage shattered. Their ships faltered as their models collapsed under impossible outcomes. Jace felt the ship surge forward, not attacking, not fleeing, but refusing to be contained. The Karun voice cracked with something dangerously close to panic. "This outcome is not permitted." Jace leaned forward, eyes burning. "Get used to it," he said. The human fleet pushed harder, not with precision, but with heart. They covered each other's mistakes. They sacrificed clean victories for messy survival. And slowly, shockingly, the Karun fleet began to retreat. Not destroyed, but defeated in the only way that mattered. They could no longer predict the future. Silence fell. Stars steadied. The human ships held position, not chasing, not boasting. Just present. Asher sank into a chair, shaking. "You did this." Jace shook his head. "No. We did." Lyri yawned, suddenly very small again. "Can we go home now?" Asher gathered her into her arms, tears streaming freely. "Yes, my love. We're safe." Jace watched them, something warm and fierce settling in his chest. Outside, human ships lingered like quiet guardians. Asher looked at Jace, awe and gratitude mixing in her eyes. "The galaxy will change after this," she said. Jace shrugged. It needed fixing. The stars didn't disagree. The silence after the battle felt unreal. Not the peaceful kind, no music, no cheering, no victory calls, but the quiet that follows a storm when the world checks if it's still standing. Stars burned steadily again. Space stopped bending. The Karun fleet was gone, leaving behind nothing but scattered radiation and a truth they could never erase. Inside Asher's ship, the lights dimmed to a calm, amber glow. Systems slowed. The living walls settled, breathing evenly like a creature that had run very far and finally stopped. Jace Ryland sat on the floor with his back against a console, exhaustion catching up to him all at once. His hands were shaking now that there was nothing left to fix. Asher stood at the viewport, holding Lyri close. The child slept peacefully, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm that had once been impossible. "She's stable," Asher said quietly. "Not paused. Not reset. Stable." Jace closed his eyes. "Good." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Lyri stirred. She opened her eyes slowly and looked around the ship, not confused, not lost. Just waking up. She smiled. "Mom," she said. "I had a dream." Asher froze. Her breath caught like it might shatter. "You dreamed," she whispered. Lyri nodded. "About a door. It was very big. And every time someone knocked, it didn't disappear anymore." Asher pressed her forehead to her daughter's hair, tears falling freely now. "You remembered," she whispered again, like she was afraid the words might break the moment. Lyri frowned slightly. "Why wouldn't I?" Asher laughed, a sound full of relief, grief, joy, and 3 years of pain finally letting go. Jace watched them, feeling something shift inside him. He had fixed machines his whole life. He had never fixed this. Asher turned to him, eyes shining. "The cure is holding because of you. But more than that. Lyri's mind is growing in ways my people thought impossible." Jace shrugged weakly. Guess perfection wasn't the goal. No, Asher said softly. Freedom was. A chime echoed through the ship. A communication request, human-coded, layered with dozens of relays. Jace groaned. Please tell me that's not another empire. Asher smiled faintly. No. It's gratitude. She opened the channel. Human faces filled the hologram. Pilots, engineers, medics, traders. Some bruised. Some smiling. Some crying openly. A grizzled woman in a patched flight suit spoke first. Kids okay? She asked. Asher nodded. She is. The woman exhaled. Good. That's all we needed. Another voice chimed in. So, what now? The question hung heavy. Jace stood slowly, wiping his hands on his jacket. He hadn't planned this far. Humans rarely did. But he knew one thing. Now, he said, we don't go back to pretending the universe runs on neat rules. The human faces listened. Asher stepped beside him. The Karoon will regroup. They will revise their laws. But they cannot erase what they learned today. And what's that? Someone asked. Jace smiled, tired but fierce. That humans don't knock once and walk away. The channel filled with soft laughter. Asher raised her chin. I knocked on every human door myself because I believed there might be one who would say yes. Her voice carried across the ships, across the listening relays. I was wrong, she said. There were many. The human fleet lingered a little longer, then slowly dispersed, not as an army retreating, but as neighbors heading home after helping rebuild a house. One by one, they jumped away. When the last human ship vanished into hyperspace, the stars felt closer somehow. Later, much later, Asher's ship drifted in quiet orbit above a calm blue world. Not Earth. Somewhere new. Somewhere safe. Lyri ran across a grassy field under sky with two suns, laughing as the wind chased her hair. She tripped, fell, and got back up without fear. Asher watched from the porch of a simple home. No nobility, no guards, no tracking sigils. Just a mother watching her child live. Jace leaned against the railing beside her, holding a mug of real coffee he'd stubbornly brought with him. You didn't have to stay, Asher said gently. Jace shrugged. Someone's got to make sure your ship doesn't start thinking it's a poet. She smiled. You gave up your old life. He thought about his workshop, the endless small jobs, the quiet loneliness. I didn't give it up, he said. I upgraded. Asher studied him. The galaxy is talking about you. Yeah, Jace muttered. That'll pass. No, Asher said softly. It won't. She gestured toward Lyri. Other families are coming. Not just Vayari. Species the Karoon labeled unstable. They're asking for help. For human minds. For collaboration. Jace frowned. You're building something. Asher nodded. A place where doors stay open. Lyri ran up to them, breathless. Uncle Jace. Can we build a flying swing? Jace grinned. Absolutely. Might explode the first time. Lyri laughed. That's okay. Asher laughed too, shaking her head. As the suns dipped low, Jace felt the weight of what had changed. Humanity hadn't conquered the stars. They hadn't claimed power or territory. They had done something far more dangerous. They had proven that kindness mixed with chaos could beat control. Far away, in the cold halls of the Karoon Empire, models were being rewritten. Laws questioned. For the first time, the future could not be predicted. And that terrified them. On a quiet world, a door stood open. Not guarded. Not locked. Just open. Because somewhere in the universe, an alien mother had knocked on every human door for 3 years. And humanity had finally answered, not with one hero, but with all of them.